Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast. Today is Monday, guys. It's Monday, it's new week, new day. It's almost the beginning of the second month of fall. It's almost 2020 in just 3 months. Can you believe it? It's almost 2020. When I was at school, I thought 2020 is gonna be like the future where we all gonna live in some sort of Star Trek reality. And it's almost it. It's 2020. We are still not kind of there, not living in Star Trek reality, but it's pretty awesome what's happening. How technology developed, how we all connected are now, and how our health industry specifically moves forward like so fast. It's like every day new scientific discovery. They're already editing genes. In China they edited embryos of real kids who are alive right now. And yeah, it's just exciting what's going to happen in the next even decade. Like for sure in 2030 we're going to live in some Star Trek future. I'm sure of it. So anyhow, every Monday, as I promised, we're gonna have some guests, some exciting, really cool guests on our show. And today we do have a guest that we chatted with a couple of days ago, and he's into cutting edge health future technology. We chatted with Tony Wrighton. He's a well-known face on British TV, known to millions as a sports presenter on Sky Sports. Tony is also an NLP expert and author, published in more than 20 languages. Some of his books titles: Persuade in a Minute, 10 Steps to Getting Your Way, or Relax in a Minute, 10 Steps to Instant Calm, Confidence in a Minute, 10 Steps to Getting What You Want Fast. So as you can see, Tony is pretty effective and efficient person. Everything can be done fast when you know what to do. And so recently Tony attended Health Optimisation Summit in London, and he's going to share with us the latest trends in supplements and biohacking, health hacking technology, something like localized cryotherapy and what it is and how you can apply it to your body and why. We also will talk about light therapy, some of the latest, coolest new supplements, best biotrackers that Tony uses and recommends. We're also going to talk a lot about Tony's recent diet obsession. You're gonna learn what this diet obsession is and how it helped Tony to finally fix his gut that he's been trying to fix for his whole life, and now finally he's done it, and he's very excited about that and can't wait to share it with as many people as possible to also help you guys to who can have the same issue to solve the same problem. Also, we talked about my dad. Tony is a great interviewer, presenter, and so he asked me a lot of questions, allowed me also to share a little bit more of my journey, my diets, my life and health hacks. So stay tuned for that. And at the end of Tony shared his best life hacking, health hacking advice that he believes we all should follow to preserve and improve our physical and mental health and well-being. And I totally agree with him, and I practice almost all of them except for his diet, because it doesn't apply to me, but it can apply to you, and it applies to Tony. It can help so many people. So anyhow, stay tuned, enjoy this really amazing, lively, fun, and cool and engaging conversation with Tony. It was real fun chatting with Tony, so enjoy this conversation. It's going to be useful, fun, and just I'm gonna give you a little bit more of a zest in your life. By the way, Tony is the host of his own podcast, Zestology, that is all about energy and getting more of it into your life right now. So stay tuned. So yeah, let's just start maybe with the with the conference, like what were major, I don't know, trends, but also new things that you've noticed? Like what fascinated you the most?
Well, first of all, it was fantastic having a conference in London, because I have been to quite a few of these things over in the States, and it's always great fun and you make lots of American friends, but it's a long way to travel. And all of a sudden we had all the kind of world's best experts on our doorstep, and that was really great. Not least because it's hard for me to travel at the moment because I've got a little one who needs to come as well, and wants to come as well. So it was really great having everything in London. What else I thought was really very impressive was the fact that Tim is a friend of mine who organised it, and he aimed very high. And at one point I thought, oh, he really is going for it here, because he didn't kind of there were no half measures. You often go to a conference and the food will be a bit rubbish and there'll be one or two good speakers and there'll be one or two good stands, but everything was kind of right, and with some of the world's absolute best doing what they do at this conference. So, yeah, a lot of top experts here, and some real cutting edge technology, supplements, nutrition, and ideas in terms of where health goes, which I kind of love all that bit as well.
Well, let's start with ideas. Like, what were, some of those ideas like that you really, loved and thought were really interesting?
Yeah. Well, there was stuff that I've kind of already tried. Cryotherapy. You've done cryotherapy, haven't you?
Yeah. I tried it in
Yeah.
New York, but only once, actually.
Did you? Yeah, yeah. So they had cryotherapy, they had full body cryotherapy. So there's the traditional cryotherapy units are kind of you standing there and your head's popping out the top. And the idea is that is great. But firstly, your head isn't getting the benefits of the cryotherapy, which is where your body freezes down to about 250 degrees minus for 3 minutes. And basically, the way it works is every cell in your body thinks it's going to die. So it starts creating loads more energy in mitochondria. And my podcast, Zestology, is all about energy. So that's why I quite like cryotherapy. But the idea is if your head's popping out the top, a lot of the warmth is a lot of the cold is escaping through the top of the cryotherapy chamber. So they had a full body one there, and they also had this localized cryo. So I woke up on Saturday morning, my knee, it wasn't really like hurting, but maybe slightly sore. I don't know, I'd done a heavy session in the gym or something. So they just held this lovely little thing on my knee, didn't hurt at all. Felt a little bit cold, and there was a bit of frost on it for 3 minutes. But there seemed to be quite a spring in my step afterwards. So I thought that localized cryo was very good, and I'll definitely be trying more of that.
They're kind of like ice packs, but on steroids.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I suppose that's like that the whole conference, and actually everything that I talk about and everything you talk about as well, Angela, is kind of like it's a traditional approach to health, but on steroids, but healthy steroids, if you like.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Not steroids, natural steroids. And that is something, that I play around with supplements so much. There were lots of interesting supplement companies there as well. And so I kind of really enjoyed looking at that. Quite a bit of stuff on EMFs, so electromagnetic fields. I don't know, have you looked into that much on your podcast?
On my podcast, no, not really, because I guess my audience is not that advanced. Like, I'm just trying to get.
I bet they are. Yeah. I bet they are.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
But yeah, so what was there about EMFs?
So one of the things that has struck me doing my podcast over the last 5 years is that the electromagnetic fields that surround us can have a detrimental effect on our health. In fact, they change the way that the cells work in the body. And what is more alarming is that nobody really actually knows what's going on with the dramatic amount of EMFs that we've got now compared to even kind of 20 years ago. For instance, none of us had a phone until about 10 years ago that we carried around in our pocket. Sure, we had one at home, and one or two of us had a big brick phone. But really, up until 2009, 2010, none of us actually had a proper kind of smartphone. And now we all have smartphones with a very strong 4G and sometimes 5G signal, and most of us keep it in our pocket right next to the crown jewels, Angela. And I'm not sure that's a particularly good idea in terms of the radiation, the mini amount of radiation that is emitting from this phone. And if that word radiation sounds a little bit alarmist, well, it shouldn't do, because I mean all electrical devices emit some sort of radiation. It might be very, very small, but it's worth thinking about this. And I mean, even Apple's own guidelines for the iPhone, for example, say that you should never hold it against your skin, which means when you're making a call, they recommend that you do not hold it to your ear. But this is a telephone we're talking about here. So some of the exhibitors at the Health Optimisation Summit and some of the people that I've kind of come across over the last year or so talk about mitigating the effects of EMF. So reducing the effects of electromagnetic fields so that your body doesn't react to it. Who knows why we're getting so many more degenerative illnesses and diseases that we're used to, and obesity is going up and inflammation is going up. And in this country, Angela, I don't know about you, but here, for the first time ever, lifespan has started to go down.
I think in US too. In Russia, we just
Really?
don't have good statistics.
Yeah. And so so you just wonder, has that peaked, or is that a temporary blip, or what's going on there? So some of the devices that were at the Health Optimization Summit, I mean, some I think are great, some I wasn't too sure about. I use, for example, a safe sleeve on my phone, which I think are great. And really, it's like a kind of just a small cover for your phone that has a kind of aluminium guard, so that when you hold it to your ear, the radiation can escape out the back and the side of the device, but not through the front of the device. In theory, you can put it in your pocket, you can hold it to your ear, and the radiation wouldn't be coming out that way. I think to be safe, you want to put it in airplane mode anyway, but I think that's a really good start. And I think I've tried all sorts of different devices for mitigating EMFs on the smartphone, and I think that Safe Sleeve is probably my favorite company for radiation protection.
Okay.
Then there are other devices that, I mean, for instance, at the Health Optimization Summit, it looks like a kind of pyramid, and they emit kind of negative ionizing waves that basically neutralize the effect of the EMF. And I realize I'm explaining this really badly, but there are quite a lot of devices that promise to do this out there. There are even stickers that you can put on your phone.
Yeah.
Now, and I actually spoke to one on my podcast of one of the guys that you might have heard that I interviewed about the devices that he sells. And he was very plausible, and I thought actually it's really interesting what he had to say. I have to say that I've interviewed a couple of EMF experts on my podcast, and they said that all these devices, none of them work, and they shouldn't be trusted. And they were like EMF scientists. I actually spoke to someone who ran some kind of NASA space program for 30 years, and then in his retirement has got into kind of health and wellness products. And he was like, yeah, you gotta watch out for this stuff. So I think it's worth taking it with a pinch of salt, but I'm also really open to trying anything to reduce the effects of EMFs. And especially when you've got children, I mean, some of these baby monitors, by the way, are there's so much Wi-Fi involved. You do not want to be putting a Wi-Fi device by your baby's head. Their skull, it's absolutely proven they are more sensitive to radiation, and you don't want anything Wi-Fi near them if you can help it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's scary, like how many of kids who a lot of times can't even speak yet. They have, their parents will give them their phones or their tablets, and they play with them as much as they want.
Yeah, that's so true. And do you know what's funny? Because our baby is about 6.5 months, and we don't really watch TV at home. And I'm not kind of too high and mighty about it. We just don't really tend to watch TV that much, which is slightly ironic since my main job is I'm a TV presenter. But if I'm ever kind of with him and I get a call or a message and I open my phone, he just gravitates towards the phone. He's trying to grab it out of me. He's obsessed by the screen. And I'd like to put the caveat in here that I don't use it very much in front of him, but I can tell if it's addictive for him, it's addictive for me as well, and vice versa. So yeah, he likes the look of my smartphone. I think I'm gonna have to keep that away from him.
Yeah, I mean, most of the kids do. I think it's because it's, that's shiny and bright and then something always moving there. But maybe that also has something to do with EMFs or some sort of radiation. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, do you find the same? Like, the thing is, I know all this stuff about like addictiveness and screens and how I'm so much happy when I'm not in front of them, but yet sometimes I just forget when I'm in front of my phone.
No, I mean, I know that. That's why I manage it like a maniac. For example, with EMFs, I never have my phone in my pocket on. I don't ever talk like holding my phone to my head. I
Yeah.
use, some sort of headset or something else, so my phone is somewhere like far from my face. And then most of the time it's in the airplane mode, unless I need to actually go and like post something because of my work. And also, I started using this Pomodoro technique that I learned on
Oh
also.
yeah. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, so now I only allow myself to like use social media when I schedule it. So like if I decide to, spend some time on social media, I schedule it and then I put my phone like somewhere where I can't even see it. I don't even remember where it is.
That's very, very impressive. So, because I've followed you on social media for a while, and I very much enjoy your posts, and I find it quite hard not to, you know, you think, oh, it'd take me a couple of minutes to write a post, but then you start putting a different filter on it, and you might put some words on it and a couple of emojis, and before you know it, it's taken a long time. But that's excellent if you schedule it. So when you go to the loo, because everyone looks at their phone on the toilet, don't they? But you don't because you haven't scheduled it.
No, again, like most of the time when I'm at home or anywhere else, it's either like far away in my bag somewhere or
Yeah.
somewhere like it just lying around somewhere on the couch, and I a lot of times again don't even remember that it's there. And also, by the way,
Yeah.
like all my sound notifications, they are off all the time.
Right, right. Have you heard about these new phones that are being brought out that kind of replicate what phones used to be like kind of 20 years ago? And there's one called the Light phone, which is just being released at the
Hmm.
moment. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of taking the world by storm. It's a really interesting idea. And I think it started out as an Indiegogo project or a Kickstarter project or something like that. But this light phone is designed to be used as little as possible. So they say, look, the phone is a tool and it should serve you, not the other way around. And so it actually respects you. And it looks really kind of smart as well. And they've got like a lovely interface.
Hmm.
And I think it's got music on it, and I think it's got alarm, and I think you can get an Uber on it. So it's kind of quite practical, and I think it might have a calculator, but you can't do any social media on it, which is
Okay.
a great idea. And I think I was sent another one as well. But this kind of thing, I think increasingly we are becoming aware that we're better when we don't have our feeds and our social media and our advertisements and our news and our email in front of us.
No, definitely. I noticed how my like attention span increases, how I'm more able to like work more productive and I'm more focused and I create more stuff. And also I'm just happier like when I don't look on social media all the time. And that I noticed like long time ago.
That's really cool that you do that. But I think the thing with me is I just I don't have enough self control. And I consider that I do have quite a bit of self control to even be aware of this in the first place.
Hmm.
But for instance, I quite often delete Instagram for a week or two at a time. And then I'll think, oh, I want to post on it, so I'll download it back. And then before I know it, I'm lost in the kind of feeds again. And when there's like 600 designers all working on making this product as addictive as possible, it's very hard as being you, the user, to actually then say, okay, I'm just going to leave it at the bottom of my bag, and I'm only going to use the Pomodoro technique when I use social media.
But that took quite some time for me too. And
Yeah.
there was a time when I did feel like I was addicted, and then I also felt really unhappy, like almost every day because of that, because I just felt like I had to be constantly on and check my social media, because also like there are a lot of clients of mine, and it's kind of like more, I do it more for work than for anything personal.
Yeah.
And so it was at first like hard for me to manage, like, and to separate, like, okay, this is for work, and at this time I'm just doing nothing there. So yeah, it was work, and so now it's better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really cool. Anyway.
Yeah. So besides cryotherapy, EMFs, what else was there that was kind of cool, and maybe you think about using um, or started using already?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, loads of great speakers, loads of great nutrition, bulletproof coffees, which I know you like the odd bulletproof
Hmm.
coffee, don't you, Angela?
Oh, I love
Um,
them.
yeah, yeah. I have actually like I do still very much like a bulletproof coffee, but I also sometimes often just have black coffee in the morning now, to kind of intermittently fast a little bit more, and I find that helps very much. Now, I was going to tell you about some of the supplements that I thought were
Yeah.
very interesting there. Some kind of very good quality cod liver oil supplements. It's a very interesting dentist I was speaking to from New Zealand called Dr. Hisham, who didn't make it onto my podcast because I didn't have time to chat to him, but we've arranged to do it by Skype. And he has these whole range of kind of healthy serums and toothpastes that have kind of no added ingredients, but also help your gums heal at the same time. And the idea is that you use this serum and then you don't wash your mouth out afterwards. So I thought that was quite kind of, I thought that was quite interesting. And actually, I had some mates who were working on his store who gave me a couple of his holistic oral care system products. But I quite liked it. And I think the idea is that it's all alkaline. So he's got this kind of mouth rinse and he's got this vital teeth serum. And he also gave me some of these mints. And he said, when you have a coffee, have one of these mints afterwards and it will alkalize your mouth. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then, that sorry, just to finish on that serum that I've been cleaning my teeth with, it is an alkaline, natural, non-toothpaste dental serum for your mouth health. So there you go.
Sounds interesting. Uh,
Yeah,
and you mentioned, cod liver.
yeah,
And actually, uh, well, I'm eating a lot of cod liver, but not oil.
right.
And mostly because of vitamin D, actually, because, when you're
Yes,
somewhere in the north, you're not getting
Siberia.
this. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Uh,
How much sunlight have you got right now?
well, we actually have like a lot of sunlight. It just cold also. So today, for example, it was around like +1, +2. Um,
Yeah.
Sunlight, the sun goes up somewhere around 5 a.m. and goes down somewhere around probably like 7:30 p.m.
Oh
So
wow! Even at this time of year, so a lot of daylight, but just not necessarily much warmth.
yeah, but soon, in winter, it's going to be like 5 hours of daylight.
Wow. I mean, it's funny because I don't think I've ever considered myself as suffering from seasonal affective disorder. I don't think I do. And yet I do always feel slightly melancholy at this time of year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I used to be much worse until I started to actually eat cod liver. Like it sounds funny, but I think my body was like at some, on some level was just really missing vitamin D and maybe other nutrition. Like I really right now focus on my own nutrition, like getting all the micronutrients that my body needs, according at least to what we know about our bodies and our nutrition needs. So I'm not
Yeah.
feeling that anymore. And for example, this week I'm not going to be spending here, like I'm going to be in Europe, so it's going to be easier for me. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
No,
like.
it's not easy, is it? I mean, one of the exhibitors at the conference was
Mhm,
called Red Light Rising, and
mhm.
I've got one of these Juve lights here in the room next to me now. Actually, have you used one of them? It's
Uh,
infrared light.
yeah, I haven't used them, but I've heard a lot of them that they have like whole body things, and then they
Yeah.
have the one that are like small and portable.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a kind of one. It's about, I mean, it's almost a meter high or half a meter high or something. You can sit in front of it. You can meditate in front of it. I mean, when you turn it on, it is like nuclear war has broken out. It is the most extraordinary light. It's so bright, but it's supposed to be kind of good for mood, good for skin, very good for inflammation, for joints, for any injuries,
Hmm.
external or internal. And there's a lot of science and literature to back it up. And as you know, Angela, there's a lot of claims, there's a lot of big talk in this kind of health world where health meets tech. And I think one of the things that I'm very interested in terms of infrared light is there's actually so much research to back it all up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, who's I think uh, do you know Rhonda Patrick, right?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
she's a fan of infrared sauna. I'm not sure if
Yes.
she did any research actually in infrared light and stuff, but yeah,
Mm,
she does that on a regular basis. I'm actually a
yeah.
huge believer in light therapy because I do believe that everything in this universe is energy and
Yes.
we just perceive it differently. So light is also sort of like energy. It's waves, and I believe different light waves affect us differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I do as well, and I love it when people talk like you just have, because the reason I started my podcast is because I got this virus in the jungle and I had no energy for a while. So I thought it'd be great to do a podcast about energy. But of course, the word energy works on so many different levels, doesn't it? And on one
Yeah.
level, it's like waking up in the morning and, feeling ready to go. And on another level, it is, the ways that we interact, seen and unseen, and everything is literally energy. And without it, you can't do anything. And have you heard of Lucozade?
No. What is it?
Lucozade is like it's a product that they sell here in the UK, and it's a dreadful product. It's like Coca-Cola, but like even more sugar. But they say that it gives you all of this energy, and they've come up with this new advertising slogan which says, "Energy means everything." And I wish I'd thought of that, because that would have been great for my podcast. But instead, Lucozade have got it. And I don't think drinking a can of Lucozade is going to give you more energy. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not going to give you more energy. Like at first, yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's like taking a lot of caffeine or any of
Yeah.
those like stimulants, but then you
Yeah.
take it and then you crash and it's not sustainable.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you really do. It's laden with sugar. It's absolutely delicious, but God knows what sort of artificial sweeteners they've got in there as well.
Yeah, so
So yeah, we had the just on that supplement stuff. I was going to tell you about the new
Yeah.
diet that I've been following.
yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So I have. Are you still keto?
Um, I'm not sure. Like most of the days, I eat the diet that is total probably somewhere around 50 carbs, right? So I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
measure my ketones anymore, but I don't think I function on carbs. So, and plus I fast for like 20 hours a day. So, yeah, I guess I am. I just don't track anymore like ketones and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. How often do you fast?
Well, every day like 20 hours basically.
Wow. So you have one meal a day.
Usually I kind of like have one and then a little bit more to like, those 4 hours in those 4 hours. And yeah. And mostly because I really, really love big meals when I can
Yeah.
eat as much as I want. And it takes quite a while for the body to digest. And, you're
Yes.
just not hungry after that. And also during the first part of the day when I fast, I just feel more productive. Like I feel, ready to go
Mm.
and do a lot of things. And then I can take like a couple of hours to have that, one big meal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to that diet thing in a sec, but I think it's really interesting. One of the exhibitors at the Health Optimisation Summit were Oura Ring,
Hmm.
which have you used an Oura? I mean, I'm sure you've heard about it, but they're really interesting.
I haven't used it, but I probably will once I'm in Europe. It's just harder to get it here.
Yeah,
But I also, I heard so many good things about it. It's supposed to be the best tracker for sleep, at least. Um,
yeah, yeah. I think it's quite interesting because I tried some other trackers with sleep, and I think that Oura is more accurate, but it's just a ring. You wear it on your finger. It looks potentially fairly low tech, but it's actually very high tech, because as well as measuring your sleep, it measures your heart rate variability, your temperature, your respiratory rate, and lots of other things as well, your exercise and all that kind of thing. And I suffered with a bad belly for years, and I think that I've kind of mostly sorted that out recently with a slight tweak in my diet. But one thing I noticed was, firstly, the intermittent fasting. When I cut breakfast out, I never knew what to have for breakfast. I knew that kind of,
mhm.
Cocoa Pops or Shreddies weren't very good for me, but I didn't know what to have. And this was before I was in this whole world of health and well-being. And then I just gave it up, and I ended up feeling better in the morning. My stomach had time to settle. And like you, I felt like I was productive and had more energy in the morning. But then one thing I've noticed about the Oura Ring is what I eat has a massive effect on my heart rate and my heart rate variability overnight. Massive. And when I eat early in the evening, my heart rate variability shoots up overnight, which is good. You want a high
Mhm.
heart rate variability rate. It's interesting, isn't it? If you eat at 9 o'clock and you have a heavy meal, your heart rate variability will be very low. But if you eat at 4, 5, 6 o'clock, your heart rate variability will be very high overnight. And I think that's interesting in terms of the intermittent fasting. It shows how well our bodies are suited to eating big meals, but then fasting in between for a while. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's really interesting that.
When I work with clients and I work on nutrition and diet, I always, incorporate meal timing. And I always say, 3, 4 hours if you can, like before bed, try to stop eating, especially if you want to like lose weight and improve your gut health. So,
Yeah.
and actually in Russia, when I was even growing up, like 13, 14 years old, and we started, talking about diet at school, like between girls, one of the like most popular thing was not eating after 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Uh,
that's I mean, and that's old wisdom, isn't it?
exactly. And usually, um, when I was growing up, and probably I'm not sure, about you or like Europe, but in Russia it was pretty common. For example, you have dinner somewhere around 6 p.m. and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. That's like I always used to take have a laugh and take the mickey out of my friends who live in the north because in this country, people who live in the north eat dinner earlier than people in the south. And I always used to have a laugh with my friends who live in the north, saying, "Oh, you eat dinner so early," but now I like eating dinner early as well. Um,
So yeah,
yeah.
tell me more about your diet and what you do these
So
days.
yeah, I was keto for quite a long time, trying to sort out these gut problems. I've had probably intermittent gut problems since I was 18, and sometimes it would really knock me for six. It's like really hard to kind of do anything really. I could get out of bed, but I would feel dreadful sometimes. And I just couldn't work it out. I tried all different diets. I tried giving up gluten. I tried cutting alcohol out, or maybe reducing it anyway. All sorts of different methods, and nothing seemed to work perfectly. Gluten helped a little bit, reducing alcohol helped a little bit, going keto helped quite a lot, but it did not sort it out completely. And I kept hearing about uh, histamine and histamine
Mm-hmm.
intolerance, and I never really understood it or knew what they were talking about. But since I tried everything else, and I kept hearing some doctors that I quite like talking about it, I looked into it more. And histamine is what the body produces kind of in response to inflammation. And we've all got histamine in our body, and it's actually like really important to have it. But some people create too much histamine, which is not quite so helpful,
Mm-hmm.
because then it can cause all sorts of problems, including massive gut problems and all sorts of other things that I was getting as well, but I didn't think about, like, oh, not sleeping that well, having hives on your fingers and that kind of thing. Anyway, started trying this low histamine diet and taking a couple of histamine natural supplements. So not over the counter histamine tablets, but something like quercetin.
Mm-hmm.
And straight away, my gut just got so much better. I had so much more energy. My skin was way better, like no more dry skin. I felt great. And then I was like, this can't be histamine. It's just like too good to be true. But it
Mm-hmm.
is honestly true to say that, I mean, this is about 8 months ago. And since I started doing that, not one day my gut has been that bad again.
Oh,
So they
wow.
say that histamine intolerance affects up to 15% of people. So it might just be worth people doing a bit of Googling and just taking one of these online quizzes and
Mm-hmm.
just seeing if they can, find some help.
Oh, that's amazing. Can you, for our listeners, give us a little bit more details, like what does like your day of food looks like and what foods
Yeah.
are you avoiding?
Angela, unfortunately, is a lot of the most delicious food in the world that I have to avoid, which is a real gutter. But yeah, so high histamine foods include avocados,
Mm-hmm.
tomatoes, chocolate, uh, leftovers. Really, like, the more that food sits after it's been cooked, the more that it creates bacteria, and the bacteria creates histamine. Um, yeah, I mean, like raspberries are high histamine. It's quite complex. It's quite annoying, but I do miss chocolate, and I do have it occasionally. But I notice it. I had a pizza the other day. I know you've been posting about pizza on your Twitter account, so I shouldn't probably be telling you I had pizza recently. But it was a gluten-free pizza with, like, obviously tomatoes on it, and I really felt it the next day, and I was like, oh yeah, this is how it feels. This is how it feels when I eat histamine foods. Fish is quite high in histamine.
Mm-hmm.
And the other really food you have to avoid is fermented foods, um,
Wow.
because they straight away have like a load of bacteria and therefore a
Mm-hmm.
load of histamine. And that's difficult because people think, oh, kombucha is
Mm-hmm.
healthy, but it's not good for you if you've got histamine intolerance. So,
Wow.
if any of your listeners are struggling with it and they've tried everything else, it's been an absolute revelation. So much so that I'm probably going to start a separate podcast and blog just on that, just because I know it's quite niche and I know there's not a lot of people who will be interested in it, but some people will be, and those people will absolutely love it.
No, yeah, I mean, for sure. For me personally, if I had to avoid all these foods, like, I don't know how I survive, especially fish. Like, I eat mostly fish, and I love avocados and fermented foods like sauerkraut is my favorite. So,
Well, that's
but
the fun. I mean, and same for me, Angela. I mean, like I absolutely love coconut yogurt.
mhm.
It's high fat, low sugar. It's good for you. It goes with everything. It's a nice, tasty dessert without being having hardly any carbs in it. But of course, if I was to say, look, you're going to feel 50% better if you give up these foods, you would give it up because you'd
Yeah.
feel better. Now, there are other supplements you can take that you can actually take before you eat that reduce the amount of histamine in your stomach. So I'm just now starting to try these, and that's very interesting, and that might help as well. But yeah, it's I mean, avocado and chocolate. Come on, these are just some of the greatest foods on earth.
Yeah, I mean, I eat avocados and chocolate every single day.
Yeah.
But do you know by any chance that if people can test it, like do DNA testing? You know, DNA testing in Russia only like right now getting popular, and it's been for a while, in US and probably
Yeah.
Europe too. So do you know of any tests that can test for that?
Testing for histamine
Yeah.
is quite difficult because I believe there aren't any particularly accurate tests, and there is a test for histamine, but the problem is your histamine levels just completely vary all the time based on what you eat, based on time of day. Believe it or not, your body creates more histamine in the middle of the night. I mean, one of the little tweaks that I just happened to stumble upon for some reason, one night I took a quercetin tablet in the middle of the night and I slept so deeply.
What tablet?
I don't know, a quercetin.
Oh,
So
okay, yes.
quercetin
Yeah,
is
I
a
know.
natural compound. It's found in apples and onions and garlic, and you don't have to take loads of garlic. You can just take a quercetin tablet. So yeah, so tweaks like that seem to kind of work quite well. But in terms of testing, it's annoyingly difficult to test for. The best thing to do is to look down a checklist of the symptoms. See if like three or more of the symptoms like are something that you're getting. So and the list of symptoms is very long. So like say headaches or um, itchy skin, hives, sore gut, that kind of thing, diarrhea, and then you just try eating a low histamine diet for 3 days. And I think it's as quick as that. I mean, if you feel good, really good after that, then it's something you want to look into more. And then you have some avocados and some chocolate and a bottle of kombucha and see how you feel. If you still feel fine, great. It's not histamine.
Yeah, that's the best way I think to
Yeah.
figure out what foods work for you or what foods don't. Like you just take them
Yeah.
out of your diet and then reintroduce them.
Yeah, but there is a genetic component to histamine as well, and I have done my 23andMe test, and I think you could look into that more. And I think I had some of the genes that were predisposed to not clearing histamine so well from the body. But I can't say if that's like if it's genetic or it's that's the thing. I actually don't really know why I've got this histamine thing, but I do know that I've had this since I was about 18. I haven't been able to fix it, and honestly, I feel better now than I've felt since then. So that's
Well,
great.
congratulations. It's
Yeah,
a really
thanks.
great thing when you find something like that works so well.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So, Tony, is there anything else you'd like to share, like your personal practice, maybe some routines, some hacks that increase your personal energy that you noticed, maybe some foods, anything really?
Yeah, I mean, I think two of the personal things that seem to work very, very well are I do meditate every day. And I find that, in terms of my energy levels, when I meditate, it makes a huge difference. So I don't think that I don't actually think it's a particularly sexy recommendation because it sounds a bit boring meditating. And sometimes it's hard to kind of slow the brain down to actually sit down and start meditating. But the other thing is I love switching my phone off and all screens off for at least 2 hours a day. Now, I have to say, it doesn't work every day. And actually, since the baby's arrived, somehow it seems to have not been quite as regular as it used to be. But I'm going to make the baby the excuse for that. But I do think that when you switch screens off, just like you were saying before, for me, it's normally the best 2 hours of my day. I do all the things that I love doing. I cook, I talk to my partner, I go and do some exercise, I read a book. Well, all those things I love doing. And
Hmm.
sometimes screens can take you away from that without you even really noticing. It can be quite insidious. So that's something that I've been doing for quite a few years, and I track how long I've switched it all off for, and then feel good about it after.
Okay. Those, amazing practices increase your mindfulness, and probably what they do is actually, increase your focus, and you spend less energy just, switching on and off between like things, and
Yeah.
that's why, it gives you energy. Probably like I also meditate. I'm a huge fan. I've been meditating since I was like 12 or something. But what I found works the best for me is guided meditation. So then I really don't have to think about like sitting or thinking about something or anything. I just follow the guide.
Lovely. Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, any parting thoughts or anything you'd like our listeners to like try, start doing, or I don't know, start thinking about to improve their energy? You are all about energy, and your podcast is also about that. So any parting energy advice?
Yeah, I would say, firstly, looking at meditation and looking at switching off the screen,
Mhm.
escaping the screens every once in a while. Then I would say, on a kind of slightly deeper level, obviously the histamine diets work very, very well
Mhm.
for me. That's not for everybody, but if you are someone who is like lacking in energy a little bit, that's worth doing. And then the final thing to say is that, and a lot of people emphasize this, I was lucky enough to interview Matt Walker recently, who wrote a book called
Mhm.
Why We Sleep. And it's been a kind of huge bestseller. And he's not the only person to have told me this, but sleep is the kind of master supplement, if you like. If you don't get sleep right, nothing else will work. And you can take like if you have 6 hours sleep, you can take all the supplements in the world. It's not going to make you feel like you've had 7 hours sleep or 8 hours sleep. So it always comes back to more sleep. And I have to say, I'm finding this harder than ever. Being a parent, I've woken up quite a few times in the night, but sleep is everything. And what we've had to do is just like radically change around our schedule. It's also hard for me because I often work, I'm on the TV, I work till
Mhm.
midnight sometimes. So last
Okay.
night I was working till midnight, didn't get to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's never going to be a brilliant night's sleep. But, it's funny, isn't it? Because I love all the kind of sexy hacks, and we've spoken about quite a few of them on this podcast, and that I do love them all. But none of them work as well as an amazing sleep,
I
and probably most people would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Most of my life, I actually tried to hack sleep and sleep less. But then once I started, allowing myself to sleep eight, may sometimes 8.5 hours, sometimes nine if I'm, getting down with something, everything kind of started to get better and better and better, especially my mental health. That's the biggest
Yeah.
difference I noticed.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And look, seriously, I love following you on social media, and thanks for all you do. Always find it inspiring, and I know you're doing amazing work, and you're a proper digital nomad as well. So you're living the dream.
Well, thank you, Tony. I, I'm living my dream. I also like to help people to understand that it's not everybody's dream, and everything has its like bright sides and maybe not so bright sides. Again, like there is a better way or worse way of doing things and living your life for everyone, and it's different for everyone. But
Yeah.
I also thank you for your work, your podcast. I'm a constant listener. It does bring me more energy, either through knowledge or
Oh,
just through
great.
energy
Yeah.
that you radiate and create with your podcast guest. So continue your work, and yeah, keep keep energizing everyone. So, and thank you very much for your time and coming to this podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, listen, if you come to the UK at any point, and I'm sure you will on your digital nomad travels, we can record a podcast in person, and it'd be great to do that.
Yeah, I'd love to do that too. And
Yeah.
if you are somewhere in Europe, like I'll be probably I don't know, in Amsterdam and in Finland, somewhere there. So whenever you travel, let me know. I'd
Great.
like to catch up.
Yeah, yeah, love that. I don't have any plans to go to Siberia, but I would like to go.
Yeah, well, as I said, like right now I'm gonna be in Europe, so
Yeah.
if you're somewhere
No, I
there.
want to go. I want to meet you in Europe, but I really want to visit Siberia because it's a place that not many British people go to, and I think that'd be good fun.
Yeah, well, it's fun that you like for a couple of days and then you kind of gonna wanna go back.
Yeah. Whereas you make sure the fire is like loaded up when I come.
Yeah, and really, really warm fur coat.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, nice to talk to you.